Daniel Harper never expected his morning to begin with his boss crying in the office hallway. As a single dad raising his 7-year-old daughter, Lily, Daniel's life was already a careful balance of school lunches, overtime shifts, and bedtime stories. He worked hard as a junior analyst at the firm, always arriving early and leaving late, determined to give his daughter the stable life she deserved. That Tuesday morning, Daniel stepped out of the elevator earlier than usual. The office was nearly empty. But as he walked past the glass conference room, he heard something unexpected. Soft sobbing. He hesitated, then looked through the half-open door. Inside sat his boss, Victoria Hale, the confident, always composed CEO who seemed impossible to shake. Yet now she sat alone, her head in her hands, tears quietly falling. Daniel froze. He had never seen her like this before. For a moment he thought about walking away. After all, employees weren't supposed to see their boss vulnerable. But kindness got the better of him. He gently knocked on the door. "Ms. Hale, are you okay?" Victoria quickly wiped her eyes, clearly embarrassed. For a few seconds she said nothing. Then she let out a tired laugh. "Daniel, right?" she said softly. He nodded. She looked at him with a strange mixture of desperation and hope. Then she said something he never expected to hear. "Would you do something strange for me today?" Daniel blinked, confused. Victoria took a shaky breath and whispered the words that would change both their lives. "Be my date today, please." Daniel thought he must have heard her wrong. "Your date?" he asked carefully, unsure if this was some kind of test. Victoria gave a small, embarrassed smile and nodded. The confident CEO everyone feared in meetings suddenly looked like someone carrying a heavy secret. "I know it sounds strange," she said quietly. "But I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important." Daniel hesitated. His mind raced with questions. He was just a junior employee, a single dad trying to keep his job stable. Getting personally involved with his boss sounded like a terrible idea. But something about the sadness in her eyes stopped him from refusing immediately. "Why me?" he asked. Victoria looked down at the table for a moment before answering. "My parents are hosting a charity gala tonight," she explained. "They expect me to arrive with someone impressive. Someone successful." Daniel frowned slightly, still not understanding. "They've been trying to set me up with powerful businessmen for years," she continued. "Tonight they're announcing a partnership, and they expect me to appear with the man they chose for me." She sighed. "But I can't do it. Not tonight." Daniel leaned against the door frame, listening carefully. Victoria looked back up at him. "I just need someone kind, normal, someone real," she said. "Someone who won't pretend." Daniel was silent. Of all the people she could ask, she had chosen him. "Look," she added quickly, "you don't have to say yes. I know this is inappropriate. I'll even make sure HR counts tonight as paid overtime." Despite the tension, Daniel chuckled softly. "You're offering overtime for a fake date?" Victoria smiled faintly for the first time. "Yes." Daniel rubbed the back of his neck, thinking about Lily, about rent, about responsibility. Then he said something that surprised even himself. "All right. I'll help." Victoria exhaled with relief. But neither of them realized the night ahead would reveal a secret that would change everything. The rest of the day passed in a blur for Daniel. By the afternoon, Victoria's assistant had already arranged everything. A tailored suit was waiting for him at a nearby store, along with a driver scheduled to take them to the charity gala that evening. Daniel couldn't help but feel completely out of place. Just 12 hours earlier, he had been packing his daughter Lily's lunch and helping her find her missing math notebook. Now he was standing in front of a mirror wearing the most expensive suit he had ever touched. "You clean up pretty well," Victoria said when she saw him later that evening. Daniel smiled awkwardly. "I feel like I accidentally walked into someone else's life." For a moment, Victoria's expression softened. "Sometimes," she said quietly, "I wish I could do that too." The gala was held at a grand hotel ballroom filled with powerful business leaders, politicians, and wealthy families. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead while soft music played in the background. Daniel felt every pair of eyes turn toward them as they walked in. Victoria's parents quickly approached. Her father, Richard Hale, studied Daniel carefully from head to toe. "And who is this?" he asked with a polite but suspicious smile. Victoria didn't hesitate. "This is Daniel," she said confidently. "The man I wanted to bring tonight." Daniel offered a respectful handshake. But something about the moment felt tense. Victoria's mother forced a tight smile. "We were expecting someone else," Victoria calmly replied. "I know." For the next hour, Daniel played the role perfectly. He spoke kindly with guests, listened more than he talked, and treated everyone with genuine respect. But halfway through the evening, something unexpected happened. Victoria's father pulled Daniel aside privately. He looked directly into Daniel's eyes and said something that made Daniel's heart stop. "I know exactly who you are." Daniel felt his stomach tighten. "I'm not sure what you mean," he said carefully. Richard Hale gave a slow, knowing smile. "Oh, I know more than you think." Daniel's mind raced. Had someone at the office said something? Was this about his job? But Richard's next words shocked him. "You're the man who returned my wallet 3 years ago." Daniel blinked in surprise. Suddenly, the memory came rushing back. 3 winters earlier, Daniel had been leaving a grocery store when he found a leather wallet lying in the parking lot. Inside was a large amount of cash, credit cards, and an ID belonging to Richard Hale. At the time, Daniel had been struggling badly. Lily had just started school, bills were piling up, and his old car had broken down. The money in that wallet could have solved many of his problems. But Daniel never even considered keeping it. Instead, he drove across the city to return it personally. Richard had tried to reward him with money, but Daniel refused. "I just did the right thing," he had said before leaving. Back in the present, Richard studied him carefully. "You didn't recognize me tonight, did you?" he asked. Daniel shook his head. Richard chuckled softly. "That's what impressed me the most back then. You helped someone powerful without even knowing who they were." Across the ballroom, Victoria nervously watched them from a distance. She had no idea what her father was saying. Richard leaned slightly closer to Daniel. "You may think tonight is about pretending to be someone important," he said. Then he glanced toward his daughter. "But sometimes the most important man in the room is the one who doesn't try to be." Daniel didn't know how to respond. But what happened next would surprise both of them. Richard and Daniel walked back toward Victoria together. Victoria immediately looked worried. "Dad, what did you say to him?" she asked. Richard smiled calmly. "Just catching up with an old acquaintance." Victoria looked confused. "You've met before?" Daniel nodded slowly. "Apparently, a long time ago." Richard raised his glass to get everyone's attention. The room gradually fell silent. Victoria stiffened. "Dad, what are you doing?" "Making an announcement," he replied. Guests gathered closer as the music stopped. Richard looked proudly at his daughter, then at Daniel. "Tonight we plan to introduce a business partnership," he began. "But sometimes life reminds us that character matters more than status." Victoria's eyes widened in confusion. Richard continued. 3 years ago, this young man returned something extremely valuable to me when he had every reason not to." Murmurs spread through the crowd. "He didn't know who I was. He didn't ask for anything in return. He simply chose honesty." Daniel felt completely overwhelmed. Richard placed a hand on his shoulder. "People spend years trying to impress powerful families like ours," he said. "But integrity cannot be bought." He looked directly at Victoria. "If this is the man you chose to stand beside tonight, then I trust your judgment." Victoria stared at Daniel, stunned. She had asked him to come as a simple favor. But now something real had changed between them. Daniel leaned slightly closer and whispered with a nervous smile. "So, does this mean my overtime request is approved?" Victoria laughed through happy tears. "More than approved." And for the first time in years, the room full of powerful people applauded not wealth, not status, but simple kindness.